guess I'll do another take.
What?
You know, the shit, I guess it cut off after a certain time and shit.
Yeah.
I have to keep patching that shit or whatever. Shit. I'm supposed to get a fucking movie thing. Why the fucking ain't shooting like a fucking movie camera, motherfucker? Say your movie camera, you supposed to have motherfucking the movie footage enough room to save it and it come in the app, motherfucker. Supposed to, you should have something to save it to. When it come in the app, you should have extra space come with the app. So you can save your movies
or something.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man. What the fuck y'all doing, man? Come on, man.
No,
Come on,
man.
I mean, you know.
It is what it is.
But y'all the ones up here with the ideas.
Yeah, I gotta get me a bottle of Patron. Next month.
That's my move. Tell everybody Ace, man. I get a bottle of Ace. Last time I drank a bottle of Ace was with my nephew.
That's the courtyard
Rest in peace,
on my block. On 2-6, there's a courtyard.
Yeah.
Right? That's 31st. That's 2-6 in the courtyard.
Okay. I have to smoke it. Cold night.
A lot of these niggas, like, I'm only speaking on one of them, but this nigga Rab was ass. I ain't gonna call him ass like that, but you know, he pop, know what I mean, bro, you know what I mean? It ain't something that he trying to do like that, you know what I mean? But my heart, man, shout out to all the real ones.
Where? Buddy?
I get offensive, boy. I get offensive when we do shit like that. Don't do that to me.
You say what happened?
I get real offensive when you be doing that shit to me. Don't come over here putting me and shit. My goddamn business. You can come shoot evil glances at my back and shit. I don't think that. I don't like it at all. No.
My thing is, everything I do, my conscience is clear. So,
I don't know what it's like to regret.
Plays dice with the universe, but they're loaded dice, and the main objective is to find out by what rules they were loaded and how we can use them for our own ends. Joseph Ford. We cannot be certain to what height the human species may aspire. We may therefore safely acquiesce.
You want that knowledge too. You know what I mean?
Age of the world has increased and still increases. The real wealth, the happiness, the knowledge, and perhaps the virtue of the human race. Edward Gibbon. Preface to the second edition.
Actually, I'd rather see what this is.
Charles Bukowski was an alcoholic, a womanizer, a chronic gambler, a lout, a cheapskate, a deadbeat, and on his worst days, a poet. He's probably the last person on earth you would ever look to for life advice or expect to see in any sort of self-help book, which is why he's the perfect place to start. Bukowski wanted to be a writer, but for decades his work was rejected by almost every magazine, newspaper, journal, agent, and publisher he submitted to. His work was horrible, he said. Crude. Disgusting. depraved. And as the stacks of rejection slips piled up, the weight of his failures pushed him deep into an alcohol-fueled depression that would follow him for most of his life. Bukowski had a day job as a letter filer at a post office. He got paid shit money and spent most of it on booze. He gambled away the rest at the racetrack. At
Dang.
night, he would drink alone and sometimes hammer out poetry on
You
his
should never drink alone.
typewriter. Often, he'd wake up on the floor, having passed out the night before. 30 years went by like this,
30
most of
years.
it a meaningless blur of alcohol, drugs, gambling, and prostitutes.
Shit.
Then, when
Sound
Bukowski
like
was
you living
50,
the life.
after a lifetime of failure and self-loathing, an editor at a small independent publishing house took a strange interest in him. The editor couldn't offer Bukowski much money or much promise of sales, but he had a weird affection for the drunk loser, so he decided to take a chance on him. It was the first real shot Bukowski had ever gotten, and, he realized, probably the only one he would ever get. Bukowski wrote back to the editor, "I have one of two choices, stay in the post office and go crazy, or stay out here and play and write or starve. I have decided to
Say what?
starve."
I
Upon
have
signing
to
the
show that.
contract, Bukowski wrote his first novel in 3 weeks. It was called simply Post Office. In the dedication, he wrote, "Dedicated to nobody." Bukowski would make it as a novelist and poet. He would go on and publish 6 novels and hundreds of poems, selling over 2 million copies of his books. His popularity
Oh, shit,
defied
he
everyone's
got paid,
expectations,
Mhm.
particularly
Motherfuckers,
his
we
own.
made $1 off each one of them
Stories
bitches.
like Bukowski's
So they don't
are
count till
bread
you
and
sell
butter
100,000.
cultural narrative.
Man.
Bukowski's life embodies the American dream. A man fights for what he wants, never gives up, and eventually achieves his wildest dreams. It's practically a movie waiting to happen. We all look at stories like Bukowski's and say, see, he never gave up. He never stopped trying. He always believed in himself. He
Mosquitoes,
persisted
dumbass,
against all
trying
the
to bite the
odds and
phone.
made something of himself. It is then
Dumbass
strange that
mosquito
on
was trying to bite
Bukowski's
the phone.
tombstone, Zeph reads, "Don't try." See, despite the book sales and
And
the
not
fame,
only the young
Bukowski was
niggas,
a
the
loser.
young mosquitoes
He
too.
knew it,
Dumb
and his
motherfucker.
success stemmed not from some determination to be a winner, but from the fact that he knew he was a loser, accepted it, and then wrote honestly about it. He never tried to be anything other than what he was. The
Well-
genius in Bukowski's work was not in overcoming unbelievable odds or developing himself into a shining literary light. It was the opposite. It was his
Ooh.
simple ability to be
He
completely,
Eminem.
unflinchingly
Hold on,
honest with
hold on,
himself,
hold
especially
on.
the worst parts of himself, and to share.
I like that, but
The Moral Equivalent of War by William James.
mhm.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public
They,
domain.
they always got the
For more
this is a
information
Liverbox
or to
recording.
volunteer,
Mhm.
please visit LibriVox.org.
Was my man what the fuck was I
The Moral
listening to?
Equivalent of War by William James. Taken from
I forget what it
Representative
was.
Essays in Modern Thought,
There was quite a few
edited by
motherfuckers
Harrison
Liverbox
Ross
motherfuckers.
Steves and Frank Humphrey Ristine. Published 1913.
But this is
Editor's
actually just
introduction. The Moral Equivalent of War, the last public
War.
utterance of William James, is significant as expressing the opinions of a practical psychologist
I did
on a
not.
question of growing popular interest.
Neck,
yeah, I did my.
crush that
For the
motherfucker.
past 15 years, the movement for
I know
promoting international
Yeah,
peace
yeah.
I know
has
all
been
the
used
what you
in
call
support
it.
of organizations and individuals.
I like
I
that
used to
one.
have a bucket of
I like
sand
that one,
for the
though.
That this
That
is a
just make it
question
simple.
in which much may be said for the
Yeah,
opposition.
I used to have a
Double
bucket
bucket
of
is
sand
quick.
when I did my.
Admits, with his usual fair-mindedness,
Just like,
Like I
the
said
thing is,
before, I
again,
never had to use
if
it.
you
So.
watch those
nourisher of certain human
motherfuckers,
virtues,
show up
that
on
the
the
world
joints and
cannot
they doing
let
that
die.
training, that's what they was really
and
doing.
that
Man, I ain't
until the
never,
peace
I never
party
had to use that
devises
shit.
some substitute,
Nah,
some
I
It's not
think
that
it's
I had
for the,
to, I
I
just
use the
wanted
shit
my
for the
hands to
discipline, you know what I'm
disciplinary value
saying?
of
For
war.
the mental discipline
No.
and shit.
their
Practice
utopian
my-
goal is
yeah.
neither desirable
But I've never
nor
actually had to use
possible.
it.
Yeah.
Like,
I ain't,
His own solution is advanced not as a practical measure,
I'm
I
sorry.
do need to
merely as a
find Jim around
illustration to
this
show
bitch
that
so I
the
can
world is full of opportunities
get
for
back to,
peaceful development
Mm,
and continuation of the martial qualities of human life. This essay was written for general dissemination as a publication of the American Association for International Conciliation,
No, it doesn't break down into
February
chapters.
1910. As it not only presents a peace program, but defines as well the most familiar arguments of the war party. No militarist article has been included, although it may be mentioned that a suggestive apology for war is to be found among De Quincey's essays, and also in Ruskin's Crown
Okay.
of Wild Olive.
Dhammapada?
Additional documents
Dhammapada?
on conciliation, approaching the
Buddhist
question from
scriptures.
innumerable points of view, are published by the association mentioned above.
Discourse.
End editor's introduction. The moral equivalent of war.
The story of Lucifer you were never told, huh?
The war against war is going to be no holiday excursion or camping party. The military feelings are too deeply grounded to abdicate their place among our ideals until better substitutes are offered than the glory and shame that come down to nations as well as to individuals from the
What's going on right now?
Ready, set, go. The
As I was
Liberty
saying,
event is going
he was
on
talking
now.
that deep shit too.
Yeah, but it was a little too wordy.
Yeah, right now, you know,
It was a little too wordy. You know what I mean?
That's some shit you listen to in the back, chill. I gotta go get that fucking.
What's
John
this?
Milton's
fucking
Paradise
pipe,
Lost
fucking
is regarded
pipe
by
tobacco so I
many
can
as
take
one of
care
the
of that
greatest
other
ever
shit.
poems
Yeah,
written
small
in the
shot.
English
Man,
language.
I'm gonna figure
An
it out. I'll
epic
get it
poem
together.
that follows two different narratives. The biblical story of Adam and Eve as they fall from grace
me a
and
hop.
are expelled from
$30,
the Garden of
$40
Eden, and the story of
by the
Satan
morning.
or Lucifer, who
Go
along
pick
with
up
the
the
other
fucking
fallen
car.
angels
Oh, my
must
fault.
create their own home after being
23rd?
expelled
Okay.
from heaven. Just for some
So,
more
it's my
days, I
birthday
guess.
on another month.
was an English
It,
poet
my
born
birthday
in
is March the
1608.
23rd.
He was
Every
a huge
23rd of the
advocate for
fucking
freedom of
month
speech
is
Why
and
am I
freedom
birthday is
of
St.
the press,
Patrick's Day?
which are aspects that certainly
March
17th.
to his work.
And my
One of
birthday
my-
is December 7th.
One of my homies is March. As a matter of fact, he got they twins. Him and his sister was born on the 17th. Really good friends of mine.
As opposed to just telling you
Shout out Lee, Walter Lee, Evans,
Paradise
shout out
Lost was first
Sylvia, you know
published
what
in
I'm saying?
1667.
Angelo,
It consisted
you know
of
what I'm
10
saying?
books. In
Akins, you know what I'm saying?
1674, it was
All
redrafted to
nine,
contain
boy.
12 books. John Milton is considered amongst the
Time.
greatest English poets to have
Deal,
ever
deal.
lived, and Paradise Lost was seen as his magnus opus, the greatest of all of his work. Now, I know stories and poetry from hundreds of years ago can be difficult to read at times, so hopefully today's not-so-brief summary of
Okay.
John
I'll make
Milton's
sure to
Paradise
be wary
Lost
of
is
that.
somewhat comprehensible, or at the very least entertaining.
Shit, my mom them should be pulling up on Granny and Uncle and all this
Before we
shit.
go any further, a quick word from today's
Go ahead.
sponsor, Babbel, the only language learning platform or application you'll ever need. With summer here and many of us
You can be
planning
stubborn,
trips
Aries,
away, learning the
but you
basics
probably
of
don't see it that
languages
way.
and being able
To you, when
interact
you're
with
right,
people
you're right.
abroad
Hell yeah.
is
And you
always
can't
always
see
right.
any
I
reason to
began
go
by
any
using
other
Babbel on my
direction
PC, but then
than the
switched
one
over to
that
my
you know
phone as it's just
is the
much
correct
easier
one.
to
Hell
use
yeah,
on the
'cause
go.
that's my way.
With
I'm the only way I
Babbel, you
know.
can learn
Well,
languages in
that could
all
be
manner of ways,
interpreted
and it doesn't
as being
matter if
stubborn,
you're a beginner or
especially
an
if you aren't
expert.
willing to
I
at least
personally stick to
hear
the
someone
10-minute
else's
lessons,
viewpoint.
as they're easy to
Today,
fit in
resist the
throughout the day
urge to dig in
whenever
your
you have
heels
free time.
over a matter of
Babbel also
contention.
teaches you more than
Listen
just
to what someone else
vocabulary.
has to
You
say,
learn all sorts
even
of
if you still
culture,
feel they're wrong.
traditions, and
You can't be
history.
labeled as
Last time
stubborn
I
if you
chose
do that.
Spanish, and continuing our journey, today's lesson is on pronouncing
I'll
double
listen.
letter
It's an action.
words.
You may not be the action you want to take,
La
but it's an
llave.
action.
Ellos.
Yeah,
Ellos.
You know what? I'm gonna look out this cancer too.
Mallorca.
I'm gonna be wondering how to make something. But see, that's the thing. I hate
As you
looking
can
at
see,
cancer.
I've clearly mastered
Cancer
Spanish,
on
so it won't be
horoscope.
long
Yeah.
before
People
mythology and
always,
fiction explain
oh,
gets its
something's
very own
wrong.
Spanish
I have-
joke.
I have-
Get the fuck
Don't
out of here
ask
with
me
that
how to
shit.
say that in Spanish.
I hardly look,
So
man.
if
I'm gonna
you'd
have to, I
like to
look at
start
my shit every
learning
once in a
a
while.
new
When you
language,
send it and say,
use
look,
my
look at
link
it.
in the description
Yeah.
to get
You know what I'm saying?
65% off your subscription.
I don't even know if I match none of that shit. I just, ain't.
Nah, it's energy. You know what I mean? Because whenever I look at it,
Begins with a
it
brief
applies.
discussion of humankind and its disobedience towards God. This refers to Adam and Eve eating the forbidden fruit
Of
from a
course,
tree
what
of
you got
knowledge.
going on, Sean?
Milton's speaker places some of the blame on the infernal serpent, the fallen angel that he refers to
That
as
makes
Satan,
sense.
and some of us may know as Lucifer. This
Oh,
angel
hello.
stirred